Is it possible for a radiator to be hot and sexy? I mean, I guess hot. Most of them are hot a lot. It's kind of what they do for a living. But sexy, that's a bit of a stretch. If sexy were a thing, this King Cooler from CSF Radiators would be on the front page of radiatorhub.com. Hello, I'm Michael. Behind me is my 1969 Porsche 911S that was converted from a race car to this twin-turbo Subaru powered street car. And if you know anything about air-cooled 911s, it's that this one isn't air-cooled anymore. Well, CSF, who makes what I think are the coolest radiators on the market, sent me a pair of their King Coolers, and in this video, I'm going to work on installing both of them in the Blasphemy build. First things first, it's important I take you on a little tour of how this car was built. This was a purpose-built race car that never saw the light of day. It was built in 1994, sat in a showroom for 25 years until I bought it last year. It had this awful Porsche GT2 993 body kit on it. Not awful if you're a racer in 2004, but the beautiful lines of the 1969 through 1973 911 were meant to be preserved, so I've put this car back to where it was before and now powered it with a 400 plus horsepower Subaru EZ30R. I need to cool the thing down. In this car, there were already accommodations for twin front oil coolers, and we're going to start by giving you guys a little look at those. This is the front end of the Blasphemy build. I had to build this thing from scratch, as evidenced by a few videos earlier in the series. None of this existed. This was this crazy square thing, and I had this huge bass fish mouth, but that is accommodating this massive air duct that's built into the bodywork. So what I've done is I've integrated the front panel to accommodate this huge air intake. And what happens is the air goes in this way and then out into these little side pods, which have been carved into the chassis. Thankfully, the King Cooler fits almost perfectly in this area, but I'm going to need to trim a bit of this on each side, and I still have a lot of touching up to do. I've got to put a plate here underneath, so this video is going to be really completing this entire front end. It's going to get this whole area, everything's going to be stripped, everything's going to be finish welded, and those two coolers are going to be mounted, and yeah, that's what we're going to do. So we're going to kind of get right in on this thing. I'm going to start by just trying to get a dry fit. The King Cooler comes with a couple of brackets already. So I'm going to cut these things out a little bit. I'm going to trim this thing off. It's just hanging out in 3D space right now, so it's not really doing anything. And I'm going to trim this up here. And I'm going to trim this off and just give myself a little bit of working room. I'm going to have to go back and forth a lot with the front bumper to make sure that I'm within range of the front bumper and not pushing too far into it that way. One thing I use for fit reference is this styrofoam. I got it from Home Depot. It's about 1 inch thick, and you can see it makes a pretty good fake radiator. This was designed basically for me to test how these things were going to fit in the car as a dry fit. So you can do that pretty much with any piece of component that you're trying to fit in your car. These come in like 2 foot by 3 foot sheets or something. They're really big, so you can carve them up and you can make radiators or any kind of custom panel you want, and it really works well as a template. So that's today's top tip. trying to make some mounting brackets here. The radiator comes with 3 brackets. So I'm going to try to just get this one set so I can hold the thing up to make the other 2. Got one bracket welded on. I've just cut out a piece of paper to kind of mimic the second bracket. And what I'll do is I need to kind of make it connect to the radiator on the side and then twist up a little bit. And then I can actually bolt it in 2 spots. So my idea is that I want to just kind of pull it sideways and then fold it correctly so it's in that kind of configuration without just a pure bend, because I think a bend will be too flexible. So I'm going to make that. So I've got a mount here and I've got a mount right here. So I think this gets me in the ballpark. Bend wise, it's pretty significant, but I have a tool that can help. And back to the handy dandy angle finder, about 120 degrees on that diagonal. I'm going to give this thing a whack in the vise to about 122 degrees. And if all goes well, it will line up by this hole, which I can then hit with a hole punch, drill it out, and I should have a bracket that fits. I just realized I have significantly more light when I close the garage door and it opens up the lights that I've installed in here. Anyway, here we are. Okay, bracket number 2 is there. And that's what it looks like for now. I'll trim this off, of course. I don't know if I still don't want to go welding, but it's actually it's very secure right now. I still need to do one more bracket in this corner, which looks like it's going to be a little more complicated, but it's going to really solidify the entire unit. All that being said, I can now refit the bumper and see kind of where I am with it, making sure that what I just did was actually going to be okay. Routing wise, I'm going to come in through the tunnel underneath. I'll route a hose up here. I'm going to go in here, so I'll loop around and then I'll go in through the radiator, out here, and then probably through this little channel here to the other radiator, through that radiator, and then back through the tube, through the tunnel, into the motor. Part 1. Fingers crossed. That is an easy fit. Look at that thing in there. No problem. So I'm going to have to create some kind of vent, obviously, on the way out. But dude, this thing has loads and loads and loads of room. So yeah, that's sick. Okay, this one's on now. The significance of this cannot be overstated. The fact that I've got both of these radiators now mounted where they go. I have not test fit the fenders on each side, but I'm going to actually bolt the fans on next, just so I can show you guys the awesomeness when it's all ready to go. And then hopefully, one thing I've noticed is that this one on this side, the cutout, I think must have been a little bit higher on this, or lower rather, on the left side, because this one hangs down like maybe a half an inch or so, and the other one doesn't. So, you know, we'll see what happens when the bumper's on. And as you notice, I ended up welding the bracket on. To be honest, I'm probably going to weld this bracket on too. I think it's just going to be a lot more solid. So I will cut it here and then weld this one on as well. And yeah, we're going to be solid as a rock at that point. So each one of these King Coolers comes with a Spall fan, and you can decide if you want it to be a push fan or a pull fan. In my case, it's a pull fan because the air is going to be coming through the front here and then coming out this way. So I want the fan to be pulling the air through this way. Sweet. All right, we have two mounted radiators. I still have to do the bottom mounts. All right, check that out with fans. What do you think, Ben? Yeah, that's what I thought. Fans are in. Rads are in, as they say in Canada. Let's see if we can bolt this thing together. And yeah, we're going to be cool. We're going to be so cool, you guys. Fingers crossed. Okay, we are back together. This side's totally perfect. Because of the issue I had with this side being a little bit lower, I've got a little clearance issue here underneath right here that hits the bumper a little bit. So I have to solve that. I don't know how I'm going to solve it yet. I either have to move the entire unit that way a little or trim this thing. This area is going to be not very seen, but I don't know. It feels weird to cut this thing. But overall, I am in really good shape. All kinds of room inside. And yeah, I think it's going to be awesome. Okay, well, that was relatively easy in the grand scheme of things. I will sort out that clearance issue one way or the other. And special thanks to CSF for their unbelievable King Cooler. If you have a Volkswagen or a Porsche or really any car that needs a small amount of space for a lot of radiator, check out the King Cooler by CSF. It is really something special. So, thank you guys, as always, for watching this particular video. If you are new to the channel, it's customary to send me a high five in the comments. If you've never done it before, I will always high five you back. Thanks for watching. You guys keep on rocking. See you next time.